Hi there, everyone. Lynn Cox here, clinical hypnotherapist. Hope you're doing well. I just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about an article that I read recently in Forbes. And, I work with a lot of people who are professionals and a lot of women in and around their midlife years, and many who are dealing with symptoms such as stress, anxiety, being lethargic, feeling like they're not performing at their optimum level, insomnia, and focus. So, this article is titled Silence Around Menopause is Costing Women Their Careers. Let's Break It, written by Hannah Hart. So, I just want to highlight a couple of these points because these are all symptoms that I have seen across the board with some of my female clients, and also some of the concerns they have about how their symptoms are actually impacting their career. So, this writer talks about how we have our youth obsessed culture, which we absolutely do. I believe this is more so in Western cultures than in some Eastern cultures. And so she goes on to talk about she's a woman in her 50s, and she's very happy that people are more and more talking about menopause. So that's wonderful. And she goes on to talk about some of the symptoms that people experience in those transitionary periods of perimenopause, so hormonal changes. So you have these range of symptoms, i.e., obvious physical ones such as irregular periods, occasional hot flashes, but also these mental and psychological symptoms that I noted at the beginning of this article. And talking about how this can make it more difficult for some women to be managing stress when it comes to within the framework of work, business, and career. And there are some reports about this time and these symptoms causing women to leave their roles prematurely. And what's interesting for those women who have had children, this is often the time when, the kids are getting out of the house and they may have more time and interest in focusing on their careers. Not that that's everybody's goal, but, you could be missing out on some opportunity in terms of your career progression if that's the case. So she goes on to talk about different powerful treatments, including, HRT, other treatments for symptoms, and suggesting, obviously, yes, talk to your doctor, consider what's right for you, being open with your friends and family. And this is an interesting point she says about talking about it at work. This really does depend on your comfort level, but here's one example I will give. When women are pregnant in the workplace, it's quite obvious that they're pregnant, typically at a point. And there's that kind of joke about, oh, whoops, I forgot that. I have pregnancy brain. The same could be said for the menopause, perimenopause stages, but it's not always as obvious. So that's just an interesting thing to note. This author, this journalist, says there was a study done, and I'd have to look at this, that talks about the benefits of acknowledging it openly. Again, not sure if people want to disclose that to their colleagues and coworkers. Perhaps, if you have a leader who you have a good relationship with, or maybe your HR or, talent development departments, depending on the size of your organization. It may be helpful to talk about some of the symptoms you're experiencing. And I will do more on this subject matter, but there are more and more of the more forward-thinking companies, also larger companies, who are looking at how their employee health benefits are structured, and to consider women experiencing these issues. Because honestly, women are more than 50% of the workforce. There's a lot of talent and skill out there. And in this article, she talks about how less than 25% of C-suite executives are women, and many of them are in their 50s. And again, not to say that's the hope or trajectory that everybody wants to be on, but that is interesting. And I think that this author is questioning, perhaps does this stage of life and the symptoms attached to it have anything to do with underrepresentation? That's a question I don't know the answer to, but what I do know the answer to is that clients that I've seen, these, feeling like stress is more difficult to deal with, having lack of sleep is very debilitating. And then the range of other issues that can come along, if you're sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden a hot flash comes up, that can really kind of um, take people off their game. There's all sorts of different impacts in the workplace and in business. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this article. Great that it's getting more and more airtime. Great to know that HR and performance development departments are looking at this, because honestly, losing good people or having good people who are struggling to reach their optimum, that's a real loss for any companies. So I think it's wise to consider that, and just wise to be aware of that. So those are my thoughts for now. I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll be on soon.